get up YouTube and make sure you're on there.
Okay, yeah. Tim's on.
Well, I've come up and gone back in and I can't get in.
Oh. Right. Well.
Are we live?
Are we live? Is anyone there? Right. There's 5 people viewing, so.
Okay, cool.
Hi everybody. If you're here, really be good to know if you're here. So just pop a little hello in the comments in the live chat if you're here. If you want to, you don't have to, but it'd be good if you are. Now we're down to 3 people, so 2 people have left already, so that's excellent.
Oh no. Okay, Amber says hello, Joy.
Hi, I'm glad you're here, Amber. How's the ceiling? Is it still up? Bless your heart. No, it's really good to see you. I'm hoping we'll get a few people come on. I think the technicalities of it might put a few people off because finding the
Rachel's
link.
Here.
Yay! Hi, Rachel. Oh, that's brilliant. I'm very pleased about that. We'll just wait a couple of minutes and just see if anyone else comes on, and then we'll just make a start. And if people find us eventually, they can jump on. Yeah. So I'm here. Joy's here, and Joy V's here. Hi, Joy V.
Hello.
And Natasha's here. Hi, Natasha. So the 3 of us are going to kind of share tonight's responsibility a little bit. Obviously, you'll be hearing from me mostly, but there will be little bits of snippets of bits that Joy and Natasha get involved in as well, just so you don't have to listen to me all evening. Although, of course, I know that's why you're here, because you just think I'm wonderful. Anyway, it's really great to be here tonight to celebrate. Yay! Yay! To celebrate the launch of The Stranger. It's been a long time coming, it feels like. Anyway, I think, with any book, it can take an awful long time to get from writing the thing to seeing it actually in print. And it is in print. Ta-da! Hopefully you might have even got a copy if you're here.
I've got mine.
Yeah. Well, I should jolly well hope my publishers have got a copy. Really bad if they hadn't. And you might also have. Ta-da! This is so beautiful.
She's got that one.
So beautiful. And if you're here tonight and you would like one of these, stay tuned, because you might be getting one. This hardback, beautiful hardback copy. Lovely. Everyone that I've shown it to has wanted one, so I'm stopped showing it to people because there's a limited number of it. But we can get some more.
We can always get more. We can always get more. Sell as many as you can.
Yeah. So there's one of these on offer tonight. So there are some other prizes as well. So there will be, if you want. This is lovely as well. This has got all the views of Wales, beautiful calendar. This is just down the road from me, this bridge. And I've also got some coasters with sheeps on, because we like sheeps in Wales. I'm not going to go on that one, but we do. So anyway, during the evening, we're going to have some sort of interactive times where you can answer questions or comment. And if you answer a question or comment at any point, your name is going to go into a hat, and you might win one of those 3 glorious prizes. So that's the plan for this evening. So that I'm celebrating, but you're celebrating as well if you win a prize, and hopefully you're celebrating even if you don't win a prize. But yeah, so thank you so much for being here if you are here. And as I say, if you put anything in and comments in or answer any questions so that we know you're here, that'd be really good. So I think everybody knows who I am. Hopefully, if you're here on my live, you know that you know who I am. And over there is Joy V and Natasha Woodcraft, who are 2 very, very, very good friends of mine, but also my publishers. So it's great to have them with us. So I'm just going to start, in case you don't know anything about The Stranger, I'm going to just read the bit on the back, the blurb on the back, so that you get an understanding of what it's about. But basically, The Stranger is the 4th book that I've brought out in the same series based in medieval Wales. And yes, it does feature monks and it does feature abbeys, but this one is yeah, is a story, like all of them really, a story, a journey of redemption. Excuse the dog barking. So I'll just read the blurb on the back. What do you do when your life's work lies in ashes at your feet, when your heart and body are broken and your faith is shattered? Disillusioned, grief-stricken and feeling abandoned by the God he once trusted, Brother Silas runs. He sets out on a lonely journey, not knowing where the path will take him, determined to distance himself from his painful past. But Silas cannot escape the love that will not let him go. Through the unexpected kindness of strangers and a series of inexplicable events, Silas's heart begins to heal. Then an unlikely reunion puts him on the path to rediscovering who he really is. Will Silas find somewhere he truly belongs, or will he remain a stranger forever? So yeah, so that's a kind of a synopsis of the story, really. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a question up and I'm going to get Natasha to read it. So if you answer this question in the comments or in the live chat, then your name will go in the pot for a prize. So you may well know that I've now got 4 books out. This is The Stranger's the fourth. So the first was The Healing, then The Pilgrim, then The Bride, then this one. And they are all connected by interweaving characters. So what I really like to know is this.
Which is your favourite of Joy's books and why? Is that okay?
That's beautifully read. Thank you. So if you want to put your answer in the comments, that would be really good. And we'll have a look at those in a moment. So in the meantime, I am just going to disappear my friends because they've said to me, please don't leave us on all evening because we have to sit there making faces. And they'll be back, I promise. They will be back. So which of my books is your favourite and why? I'm not sure I have a favourite. Each one that I write suddenly becomes my favourite. I've learned a lot in my writing journey, and I certainly think I'm probably a better writer. So in terms of the writing quality, I think they get better as they go along. But each book is so different and covers such different topics and such different themes that each has, I guess, it stands in its own right. But as you probably know, every one of my books is based on my own experiences of my own life journey with God, my own faith journey. And The Stranger is no different. So The Stranger is a very personal book that is based very much so on a season of my life when I really felt distant from God. I felt that God had abandoned me. And that's Silas's story in the Stranger, that because of what's going on in his life, because of what's happened to him, he begins to question whether God cares, whether God's there even. And story is all about his journey of rediscovering his faith that actually he thinks that he's lost, but he hasn't really lost. And that was as a reflection of what happened to me. But I was also inspired by Brother Silas himself, who is a character that appears very briefly in The Healing and his abbey at Grace Dieu. And I knew when I wrote that part about Grace Dieu that I wanted to go back to that little abbey. I wanted to write about it again. And then my husband and I were traveling around along the borderlands of England and Wales, and we found Abbey Dore and went to visit it. And it's an incredible place because it's a ruin, but it's also still a church. There's still enough of the abbey buildings left for them to use as a church still today. And it's a beautiful, majestic abbey compared to what Grace Dieu would have been, which would have been very small and pathetic in comparison. And immediately I had the story idea of comparing the two. What would happen if Grace Dieu failed and the brothers from Grace Dieu had to be recalled to the mother house, which was Abbey Dore, and the difference between the two. And all of that, all those things went into the mix, really, for the inspiration for this story. So what I'm just going to do is, for those of you that haven't already read it, I'm going to give you a little sneaky snippet right from the beginning of the book. And I'll just read a little bit for you here. A quick glance around and Silas could see fire had taken hold all over the small compound, fanned by a stiff cold wind that carried sparks easily from structure to structure. He shivered, despite the warmth from the flames. It was a clear and cloudless night, no hope of rain from the heavens to douse the blaze. His fellow brothers stood damp and dishevelled, spaced around like the last few pieces of a well-fought game of chess. They stood as he did, watching as the abbey and their dreams were mercilessly consumed. At least there was no raiding party this time. A few well-aimed firebrands thrown from outside the fence had done the damage. It might have been the same thugs as before, but it could have been youths or even children, the hatred behind their actions well ingrained. Silas had no doubt that they would be back in the morning to loot what was left. It would not be much. They would not find him or any of his fellow monks there. Silas made that decision. They had done fighting. They had tried. God knows they had tried. But they had lost the battle. It was time to retreat. Silas called out, and 4 weary faces turned towards him, each one stained with grime, sweat, and tears. He felt a sting of guilt, berating himself that he had slept as they had faced the fire without him. He would not let them down again. Come, brothers. He raised his voice above the sound of flames crackling and beams splitting. He turned and began walking, and one by one the others followed. Silas stopped to grab the shafts of an untouched handcart, putting it into the midst of the little gathering that had formed around him. Gather what food and clothing you can, quickly. Do not put yourselves at risk. Only what you or this cart can carry. Forget the animals, Cedric. The young man was trying to hold on to 2 terrified hens. They must fend for themselves. We cannot take them. We must go now. Leave here quickly, quietly. They will not expect us to stay and fight the flames, not this time. Perhaps, God willing, we will return and rebuild Gracedieu. Brother Germain dumped a bundle of cloth and a small sack of dried beans into the cart. He was wheezing from the effects of the smoke, but his natural optimism shone out from eyes circled by soot. Silas could not hold his questioning gaze. He mumbled something non-committal under his breath and started to move off, pulling the cart behind him. He could not answer his old friend, as he had no idea any more what God willed. God's will had seemingly brought them here to build their bright new abbey in this inhospitable and godless corner of the Welsh borderlands. 7 years they had built and fought, prayed and defended, broken their backs in the field, only to have their harvest stolen time and time again. Last year's kidnapping of their frail abbot and his subsequent death had almost broken them. Now the abbey was burning to the ground. To his shame, Silas felt relief. He no longer had the strength or the conviction to fight or rebuild. He was done with Gracedieu, and as he walked away from its burning ruins, a niggling thought suggested that perhaps he was done with God as well. Right, I'm going to put the girls back on stage. Are you ready, girls?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here they come. Because I'd really like to catch up with any comments. So is there anything that you'd like to share with us from the comments?
Would you like me to read out some of you going to go for it, Joy?
Yeah.
I'll go for that one. So we've had several comments. Several people have said which one's their favourite. So Amber said for her it had to be the first one. But that's because she hasn't had the chance to read them all yet. So it would always be exciting to come back and see if she changes her mind.
Yes.
For Rachel, this one is easy. The Stranger, because it beautifully portrays the redemption of some of our most raw and painful questions when life is at its most difficult.
Oh, thanks, Rachel.
Joanna Watson replied, and she said for her, The Bride is her favourite. It's the one that she endorsed, and it's Joy's best written book, in her opinion. Although she did say she hasn't read The Stranger yet.
Oh,
so let's wait and see if that opinion changes too. And Natasha wanted to be a little bit different. She likes The Pilgrim. Again, it was the first one of your books she read, so it has that kind of special place in her heart. Alex says that her favourite is The Stranger, because of the lesson Silas learns not only about not needing to earn God's love by his service. So, yeah, beautiful. And then Susan said she's read all of them. She loves them all. Hard to pick a favourite, but she said maybe The Bride for the main character. And I really enjoyed some of the prose in The Stranger.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, and Arnold is also listening, and he just said impressive as you were reading. That was your extract, I think. That's nice.
Thank you. I do like it when I'm impressive. Doesn't happen that often. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. I'm really, really, really pleased that people are engaging because it's really strange because I'm just talking to myself.
Ooh.
I can't see any of you. So it's really
Amber's just asked another question. She said,
Yeah.
which one is your favourite Joy?
Yeah, well, that one I struggle with. I think when it comes to probably writing quality, they get better, I think. And I think that's probably true for a lot of, well, not all writers, not by my experience, but I think you do learn writing craft as you go along. So I think from that, and I think each one is so different, and they're all very personal to me. I loved The Bride. I think a lot of people did, and I love The Bride because it's just such a lovely message. But I do really love The Stranger as well. So they've both got a place in my heart. Not that I don't love the other two as well. I do. When you've reread them 12 times during the editing process, you kind of get a bit fed up of reading them. So I do probably need to go back and read The Stranger again.
Yeah, if you then give it 2 years and then go back and read it again, you're like, oh, this is good. I like this.
Did I write this? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, cool. So I have got another question. So you've been so good at answering your questions. So I did say earlier that The Stranger was inspired by a character from The Healing. And all of my books have been inspired by a character. My stories are character driven. That's the way I write. So The Healing, obviously, the main characters were Philip and Brother Howell. And then The Pilgrim came directly from The Healing because it was Brother Howell's backstory, because everybody wanted me to write more about him. And then The Bride came from The Healing as well, because it's Eva's story. And if you don't know who Eva is, I'm not going to tell you, because that would spoil it. And then, as I say, this one was inspired by Brother Silas. But I've also written a couple of short stories inspired by characters from my books. And some of you might have had The Widow. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it yet, but that is inspired by a character from The Stranger. So my stories are character driven. So my next question is this one, and your dulcet tones, you can engage your dulcet tones again, Natasha.
Which of Joy's characters do you think deserves their own story?
So yeah, if there's any characters that you've come across when you've been reading one of my books, oh, I wonder what happened to them, or why were they like that? What was their backstory? I make up stories all the time about my characters. I'm sure other people that write fiction do. Give them backstories, or why are they like they are. But is there anyone that you would really love me to write a story about? I'm not promising I will, but I might. So that's my next question. So thank you. So at this point, I am going to actually hand over, and I know that I'm confused, those two in a minute, and I know that they're also busy taking note of comments and questions and things, which is great. But I did want to just involve them in the conversation a little bit at this point, because I want to ask them a question and then they can answer it. I want to ask them what it was like to publish The Stranger and what it was like to work with me. So I don't know what they're going to say. So I'm just like, I could disappear off stage. I might actually. Shall I do that? And I leave it up to them.
Oh, you did. Left us. Okay. I think for us, when Joy first approached us and asked us if we'd be willing to take on one of her books, I think the thing that both of us felt, first of all, was it was a real honour to be approached and to be trusted with her book baby. You've probably not heard of Broadplace Publishing. We're not one of the top 5. We're a brand new Christian imprint in this country, and in any country, to be fair. But we're determined to bring quality Christian books to the market, and experimenting with a new way of doing business. So we were just so honoured that Joy agreed to work with us. Natasha?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, one of the things we really feel passionate about is that we are opening up, explaining truth through fiction, because stories can be so much easier to engage with than other forms of communication. At least I find them, because my brain gets tired. And so we're really passionate about that as a publishing house. And Joy is such an amazing example of doing exactly that, that it's so great to have her books on our shelf. It's just really exciting. And yeah, so when she sent us the Stranger, we loved reading it. We're really, really excited about the spiritual truths that are conveyed in there. But then it was quite interesting, wasn't it? Because obviously Joy had already written in a series, although they don't have to follow each other and they stand alone. There is a theme going on, a theme in terms of cover and design, and obviously the other characters. So it was interesting trying to match her vision with our vision. One of the things you might have noticed if you've got a copy already is that the interior is a bit different because we're dyslexic friendly publisher and her previous one wasn't. So that was interesting, finding a font that looked really beautiful, but also conveyed what Joy wanted and the genre, but was dyslexic friendly. So hopefully we've achieved that and that you've all enjoyed reading with that font. So let us know what you think about that. It'd be great to know. But obviously the cover is very similar to us. So Joy did use her previous cover designer, and we were very, very happy for her to do that. So yeah, it looks great.
It was very much a learning curve, I think. For us, it was only the second book. Lizzie said she noticed the font change and she really liked it. Thanks, Lizzie. So did we. I think I'm at that age now where I sometimes have to wear reading glasses, and if I don't have to, then I'm very happy. And I don't have to with this, which is great. And so it was a learning curve for all of us. Joy is only the second publisher apart from ourselves that we've published, and she was our first fiction. And so she will always have a place in our history. And it was her patience as we kept going back and saying, we're not sure about this, and can we hold it off for this? We think God's given us a strategy for this, but it means this. And we really do want to honor her and the sacrifices that she made as we tried to wave this path of listening to God and trying to do something new that he was calling us to do. And she was just so gracious in letting us do that. So yeah, we were really, really great. Yeah. We were great. I was just reading a comment and thought, that comment's great. We were really blessed. That was the word.
Well, I was just about to say,
you were really great. Actually, you were incredibly gracious as well. I have to tell people. There was a learning curve for me as well, because I'd worked with the same publisher for the previous the previous 3 books. I knew how they worked, and I knew what each part of the process was going to look like working with them, and I kind of it was different. It was different with you guys, and so it was a learning curve for both of us, and I think you were both incredibly patient and gracious with me as well, so we got there in the end. I'm so happy with the final product. So happy with the job that you've done. Their attention to detail, guys, is absolutely incredible, and I know that we all share that desire to do things the best that we can, because it's a kingdom thing, and it's honoring to God to make things as good as they can be when we're producing something for him, and we've all got that same ethos, we've all got that same drive. So that was really nice to work to that together, and I think we did good.
Hopefully the comments seem to be pretty good so far.
There's a lot of love for the font going on.
There's a lot of love for the font. I'm so pleased, because that was one of the things I was concerned about, that obviously it was going to look a bit, I think on the shelf it doesn't look very much different, and certainly when you spine wise on the shelf, the 4 books, they go together really well, but the inside is slightly different. But if people are appreciating that, then that's a really good thing. So yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. And you're amazing. We are praying with you and for you that God will continue to bless you and give you opportunities in this new venture, and that you will find more incredible books to publish, and that your desire to do things God's way will see his favor on it. So
thank you.
So just before I disappear them again, because I will in a minute, I want to know if there's any answers to that question. So which of my characters?
Indeed, there are. So Rachel would really like to know more, or to follow through the story of Samuel. So he was a new character that we meet in The Stranger, a young man. And obviously has captured Rachel's heart there as a mother of boys herself. I think she's like, oh, yes, where does he go?
Yeah.
Alex has asked for the one, I like this one as well, the one whose parents prayed for a son and then had to lose him, had to give him back to God, to the monastery.
The pedal. Yeah.
Yes, pedal. Yeah. Lizzie would like to hear his story. But yeah, so I'm not sure, Alex, if you want to hear the parent story, if you want to hear the boys' story. So yeah, those are the changes, the suggestions we've had so far.
Okay.
And then some more chats about the font.
Oh really?
It's important. It's important. We could tell you,
Absolutely.
we'd have to kill you.
Your live event is font. Yes.
Oh, there you go. Lizzie's answered. She would like to hear both of them, both the parent story and the son's story. So,
okay. Cool.
Yeah. So,
fantastic. Okay. Well, come on. I need some more suggestions.
Okay. Well, Natasha would like to read all of Matthew's story and his sister's story now.
See, Matthew was a surprise. Matthew wasn't supposed to be in The Stranger, but he did.
Not everyone's read it.
Spoiler alert.
They've had it for a month. They could have read it already.
That's your special spoiler alert if you've not read it. Sorry. Some of you might not even know who Matthew is. So there you go. You have to have read one of the other books to know who he is. So that's good. So thank you so much for answering questions. And
there is one more. There's one more late edition. Rachel would like to know, who is the stroppy abbot? I'd like to read his story and see if he could be redeemed.
He's nasty.
Yeah, that appears very briefly. But then just because someone appears briefly in the story doesn't mean that they can't have their own story.
I think Silas appeared briefly to start with.
He did very briefly. Yeah, he did. Yeah. So just a reminder, if you were late to the party, and there's nothing against that, if you're late to the party, I don't mind at all. But if you answer any of these questions on the live chat, or if you make any comment at all on the live chat, you could be winning a hardback copy of The Stranger, limited edition, or a beautiful calendar with all beautiful scenes of the lovely country that I live in and that I base my stories in. Or if not, you could have some coasters. Sheep coasters. Can you see the sheep? Sorry, from a distance you can't tell that the sheep. There's a sheep with a puffin on his head. I think they're gorgeous. Anyway, so if you're so you haven't got to do anything. All you've got to do is put you can even just put a little cross so that we know you're here, or hello, anything, and that qualifies you to be in the draw for the prizes. So I'm going to disappear the girls again. I love having this power. It's great. Bye. See you in a minute. Phew, so I can see what they're doing, but you can't now. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read a second extract. Those of you that know my writing know that it's very much influenced by things that God has spoken to me about, things that God has revealed to me in my own journey of faith. So there are times when in the stories that I'm writing, I need to include or want to include something like that, some incident where God has broken into my life, and this is based on one of those. And so I'm going to read this a little bit, and then I'll just talk a little bit about what this means to me. It happens almost right in the middle of the book, and so there's a sort of slight spoiler in it. Sorry if you've not read it yet. By evening, Yorworth was able to sit up in his bed, well bolstered by cushions, to take some broth. He needed to be fed by spoon, and he was still coughing, but the fever seemed to have subsided, and his chest did not rattle as ominously as it had. After he had taken a few sips of the bone broth, he laid back and watched as Wolf noisily finished the bowl. A small smile crossed his face, and Silas smiled with him. Silas made himself a makeshift bed on the floor, in the space between Yorworth's bed and the opposite wall, Straw, blankets, and one of Rachel's fine sheepskins for a pillow would make for a much more comfortable night than the one he had just endured. He was hopeful that Iorwerth would sleep soundly and that he too would be able to rest. "Thank ye." It came as a croaked whisper. Silas was sitting on his bed, removing his boots. He shifted so that he leaned against the wall. "I am just glad we came back to the camp when we did." "Why did ye come back?" Silas didn't want to trouble the charcoal burner with that just yet. He had seen Matthew's reaction to the carvings at the camp, and he had seen his face when he had opened the lid of Maya's box. That box was now safely stored in Matthew's locked cabinet, but Silas guessed that he had already had designs on the figures it contained. He did not think Iorwerth would part with those, although he might let Matthew work his craft on the animal carvings. "What happened, Iorwerth?" The man grimaced, coughed, and then took a few strained breaths. "After ye left with the charcoal, I was going to go and catch up on some sleep, but I thought I would try to finish the pile first. I could see the weather closing in." He paused, and Silas handed him a cup to sip from so that he could continue his tale. "It was strange. I could not seem to get my limbs to work. My head began to pound and I was coughing, but then I always cough. I stopped trying to work and wrapped myself in my blanket. I thought about lighting a fire, but I just didn't have strength enough. Then the rain started." He coughed again and closed his eyes before continuing hoarsely. "I woke sometimes later, and it was dark. I was soaked and shivering. I knew I was in trouble, and somehow I forced myself up and staggered to the cottage. I remember heaving the door open and emptying my guts onto the floor with the effort. I don't remember much else. Wolf led us to you." The dog wagged his tail at the sound of his name, but he did not lift his head from his master's lap. Iorwerth reached down and stroked the dog. "Good job he likes ye, stranger." He tried to laugh, but it turned into another cough. "Liked me enough to lead me to you, but I think it's obvious that dog loves you." Iorwerth grunted, but he also smiled as he shifted to lie a bit flatter. He was soon snoring. Silas lowered himself onto his own bed and pulled a thick blanket up over his legs, but he could not sleep. He lay listening to Iorwerth's noisy snores, grateful that he slept and that the worst seemed to be over for him. Wolf had laid his long body alongside his master's on the bed and was snoring softly too. "You love me." He heard it. It wasn't audible, but he recognized the voice because he had heard it before, deep in his heart. He almost sat up, but forced himself to stay still. He found his fists were clenched as tightly as his eyes, and he willed them both to relax. Again he heard it, and it was unmistakable. "You love me." He knew whose voice it was. He had longed to hear from God, pleaded with him for a word of promise or of hope, for reassurance of answered prayer or deliverance, and had heard nothing, felt nothing, for so many months. And now when God did speak, it was to say something that seemed so incomprehensible. It hadn't been a command, "Love me." That would have made more sense, or even, "I love you," which he might have struggled to believe coming from God. No, the voice had whispered, "You love me." It touched something deep within him to hear those words, and he lay with tears quietly rolling down his cheeks. God saw, and God knew, and God understood. At the heart of it all, beyond his doubts and fears, beyond the confusion in his mind and the dulling of his emotion towards God, beyond all of that, God was exposing the true position of his deepest self. He could not escape it. His heart still belonged to God. As I said, that's a very personal thing to me. I actually heard those words myself when I was in a really dark place and struggling to communicate in any way with God. I heard him say that to me, that you love me. And I only had to take a minute to go deep within myself and knew that the truth of those words, that even though I was questioning him and denying his care for me at the time, that actually I knew that my heart was his and that there was 1,000 ways that I knew that. I didn't want to love anyone else. I only wanted to love him. And that was part of my journey back to him, and it is part of Silas's journey back as well. So you've got that little treat from me. So I'm going to do something a little bit different now. So we've gone from being quite serious and thoughtful, and we're going to do something a little bit more fun, hopefully. So is everybody up? At this point, actually, shall we just see if there's any more comments that the girls want to share? So I'm going to bring the girls back in. There they are.
Hello.
So is there any more? Are there any more comments or things that you want to share with us all?
No, Julie's joined us. Julie Wickenden. She's feeling a little bit under the weather. Oh, she looks like she's feeling a little bit ill, but she wanted to let you know that she was here.
Oh, yeah.
And Arnold really enjoyed that reading. He said, I loved that.
Thank you so much. Oh, bless you. Thanks, guys. So, yes. So I'm going to now test your knowledge of... my publisher is really worried about this. You're going to test your knowledge of The Stranger. Now, if you haven't read it, it's fine, because I'm actually going to give you multiple choice answers to some questions. So if you don't know for sure, you can just have a guess. And I think it's been quite interesting to see what people come up with. So we're going to play a little quiz now and see how well you know The Stranger if you've read it. See how well my publishers know The Stranger. Yeah. So here is your first question, which Natasha can read out because she's reading so beautifully tonight. Here we go. Yeah, well, we can't hear you.
I was muted.
Well, that's no good.
Try again. How many abbeys are mentioned in The Stranger? A, 3, B, 4, or C, 5?
Ooh. So yeah, as you know, I do tend to write about abbeys, and they do tend to appear in my books, but there are actually several. I'm not going to tell you at this point, so you can just put in the comments which you want. Do you think A, B, or C?
Okay, Lizzie thinks there might be 5.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel says 5, but testing the Menno brain, it's not there. Julie also says C, 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Everyone's afraid to say a different answer.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the 5 are, because I actually think it's 4. Yeah, Tim just said 4. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I think there's only 4. But if there's a 5th and I'm wrong, then I'm the author of the book. That's great. So there's Grace to You, which is the one that they obviously start at, and then there's 3 others. So there's Abbey Dore.
Alex got it right. She said 4.
Yeah, that's right. And then there's 2 more which they visit on the way. And well, one that they don't visit, but could have done, and one where they end up. So I'm not going to give any more away, but yeah, there's 4 as far as I'm aware. Yeah, 4 Cistercian abbeys, because as you know, the Cistercians were everywhere in the 13th century, and they were all over Wales. So it was really fun, actually, whenever I write a story where there's a journey, kind of joining the dots with the abbeys. So yeah. So that was the first question. So well done, everybody that got it right, Alex and Tim. I don't know about the rest of you who didn't answer. Here's the second one.
How many characters appear in The Stranger that we have met before? Is it A, 3, B, 5, or C, 6? Oh, that's a hard one. Have your guesses. You can't even tell us like what their names are or anything, because it'd give it away.
Well, I think Rachel's given the perfect answer. She's blown a raspberry at you.
Perfect.
Susan Cook, she says 5.
Ah.
Amber is saying 3.
Of course,
Lizzie is saying either 3 or 5.
Hedging your bets, Lizzie.
There are 3 dot packets.
Either 3 or 5 or 6.
Oh dear. You're going to put us out of our misery.
Well, if you include the main character, I think it's 6.
Alex has said 6.
Oh, Alex got it again.
Yes, Alex has done it again.
Alex is a superstar. But you do have to include Silas in that.
Mm.
Yeah, I think there's 6 people that you've met before. Okay, and some of them only very briefly, but that's beside the point. Okay, are you ready for another question? You're really enjoying this, I can tell. You're going to love this one.
Oh.
Oh, who was on the English throne at the time the book was set? A. King John, B. Henry II, or C. Henry III?
12:32 is the date if you need it. If that helps.
Oh.
12:32 is the year as the book set. Come on now.
I don't think anyone's daring to answer this.
Lizzie has announced that she is rubbish at this. It looks like she's having a good time. Amber has suggested maybe Henry III, and as has Rachel.
Whoa, somebody's cheating. We don't
If
know.
Google is correct, Rachel says. It looks like everyone's off on it. Lizzie says Henry III, as does Joanna, as does Susan Cook.
They've all been Googling.
Yeah.
When's Robin Hood meant to be set? Because that's King
That's
John,
in the
isn't
time
it?
of King John, isn't it?
King John.
Is that meant to be
King John
earlier
and
or
Richard
later?
Lionheart.
A little earlier, yeah. So it is Henry III. And for those history buffs that who want to know this, that Henry III was King John's son. So yeah, Henry III. So in the Pilgrim, it is King John. Pilgrim, but yeah, Henry III was on the English throne in 1232. So well done for googling well.
Special kudos to Amber, who didn't Google, but she just knew that off the top of her head.
Wow, I'm impressed.
An impressive woman.
You and me might be history buddies. That's great. I know random silly facts like that as well. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, Alex said I would have got that one wrong because I was going to say John. She didn't type it quick enough.
So here's another one where you might have to Google, or you might know this one. Is Natasha reading it?
No, Natasha's not going to read it.
Sorry, I just had a slight interruption from a child. Which English county is Abbeydoor in? A. Herefordshire, B. Worcestershire, or C. Shropshire?
Doesn't help me to tell you that it's on the English-Welsh border, does it? Because all of them are.
Okay, so Joanna's asking if maybe it's Herefordshire. Rachel's asking if it's also Herefordshire.
Asking or saying?
Joanna's asking with a question mark. Susan's declaring it, so is Lizzie, as Herefordshire. Although Lizzie has told us that she's going to use every resource available to her. Amber is going to go with Rachel with Herefordshire if she's Googling it. And Rachel asks for confirmation. She says Worcestershire isn't on the border.
This is true.
There we are. Okay. Alex has also joined in with Herefordshire, so I'm going to go with Alex.
Seeing she's done so well so far. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you are right. It is Herefordshire. Yeah. Abbeydoor's in Herefordshire. Yeah. And it's very beautiful. If you're ever near it, go and have a visit. It's open all the time. It's a church. It's open all the time. It's amazing. Amazing, amazing. Free. Free. We like free things. Especially historic sites. So yeah, Abbeydoor's in Herefordshire. It is literally just over the border as well. So. Okay, this one you should be able to get, and definitely my publishers should be able to get this one.
How many books in total has Joy now published, not including anthologies? A, 4, B, 5, or C, 6?
So Rachel says C, 6. Joanna says 4.
Ooh.
Amber says 4. Lizzie says 4.
I think they're forgetting something.
Or 5, Rachel's saying. 4 or 5.
Ooh.
Joanna said actually no 6 because of the 2 devotionals.
There we go.
And Rachel's come back and said yes, definitely not just 4.
Ooh.
And Joanna's asking, is it just 1 devotional? Susan
You did give us a clue earlier, though, Joy, didn't
Amber's
you?
saying, ooh,
Who was
5.
listening?
Liz is saying there's 4 in the series, but you've published other books. Not sure which are anthologies, she says.
That one. Okay, sorry, I'm just getting my assistant over there to get something out. I actually, looking at this now, know that actually none of those answers are right. I can't count myself.
I was like, no,
Question.
Going awfully well.
Brilliant.
Journals in a slide box. So there's this one that came out last year. So there's 4 novels. You're very right. But there's this one that came out last year, my Advent devotional. So that makes 5. And then you can't find them. Hardback. 1 minute. Inside that box is a little box. 1 moment. So that's 5, and then there's
Got too many books in this house.
this one.
Ooh.
Did you get that one? So that's 6. So there's 6 physical books. So if you answered 6, you are right. But there is actually a 7th, and that's my novella, which is only published in Kindle edition, but it is published. So it's 7.
It is published.
Yeah. So, but there are 6 physical books. Yeah. So 4 novels, a devotional, and a journal. I think I could stop now. Do you think?
And there's another little extra which might be published very, very soon, which some of you may already have got hold of, which Joe has just put in the comments. What about The Widow?
Yeah, it's not officially published at the minute. It's been distributed.
But
Yeah. But you never know.
excitingly, you are, if you didn't manage to grab the pre-order where you got The Widow as a really special bonus for supporting Joy by pre-ordering, you are going to be able to get hold of The Widow. It is not disappearing. It is going to be available to buy very, very shortly, so that is exciting. So it will be 8.
That is crazy. When I only started publishing books 4 years ago, so you just never know, do you, when you start these things, what God's going to do. So I'm made up. So so I'm going to give the girls a chance to just catch us up with any other comments. I'm just going to disappear for a minute, but I will be back. And in the meantime, if you have any other questions, throw them in the comments. Okay, I won't be gone for long.
You're muted now.
I am. My family just all walked in. They'd been out to the I don't know where they'd been to look out through a telescope or something at the stars, and they all just walked in. I'm like, oh, mute. Yeah. So if there are any other questions that you'd like to ask either Joy or us, that would be really, really cool. Joanna has correctly pointed out that there's a couple of anthologies in there as well. There might even be possibly 3 anthologies. I can't even keep track.
Yeah, there's definitely 2, isn't
She
there?
was in the marketing one, wasn't she? Was she in the marketing or the writing one with Wendy
The
Jones?
writing one, I think.
And then the Jessie Tree, and then writing well as well. So yeah, I'll tell you, she's prolific. So yeah, are there any other questions, especially with Joy out of the room? Any questions that you would like to ask us, or ones that we can pass on to Joy when she comes back?
Very mysterious.
I know. That's the difficulty with this whole thing. No idea where she is.
Oh!
Worthy.
It had to come out. It only ever comes out on launch events. I'm still not sure it's me, girls. I'm not sure it's me, but I thought,
Well, we've just been asked. Sorry.
Yes.
We've just been asked what was the funniest moment along with publishing, and then possibly this one. I think that probably.
Yes, absolutely. This moment.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What do you think? Think I should keep it on, or should we?
I think this should become part of your everyday attire.
Do you
I
think?
would like to see pictures over the weekend of you in various places around cricket in your wimple, and I think that would make a phenomenal launch celebration. And every time you look at you can tell them you just launched a book and give them the opportunity to buy it.
Yes.
You could wear a sandwich board with the cover on it.
Yeah.
This is why we're publishers. We've turned this into a marketing event.
You can hire me in my wimple out. Anyway, it's So no, I'm not.
We do have a couple of other questions.
Let's
Joy, when you write, this is for you. Oh, you're taking it off. Joy, when you write your novels, do you start with the character or do you start with a storyline? And how do you construct your stories?
I think I said before that my stories tend to be character driven. So I do start with the character generally, but probably more importantly, or as importantly, is what I want the story to be, what I want the theme to be of the story, what I want the truths of which truths I want to convey during the story. So, and sometimes I'll have that first. So I think, with Brother Silas and the Stranger, I knew what I wanted to talk about in this book, and he was the perfect candidate, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So with the Stranger, I had the character and I had the idea of the story that I wanted him to go on a redemptive journey from questioning his faith through to being having his faith restored. I knew the beginning and I knew the end, just a bit in the middle. Wasn't quite sure how it was going to get from the beginning to the end, but that's where the way I do it is I pray lots, and the Holy Spirit helps tremendously. And often, sometimes when I'm sitting down to write, so I usually have a rough. I'm not a plotter. I'm sorry, I don't have spreadsheets, not like some people on screen. But I do have a rough outline usually of where I'm going. And of course, because it's historical, I do have to do historical research as well. Especially, I need to know who's around at the time, who's on the English throne, that kind of thing. And other people that are going to appear in the story that are real life characters. I need to know their background. But then I sometimes I even sit down to write a chapter and I don't know where the chapter's going, but I pray, and more often than not, I am inspired and the Holy Spirit helps me write. That's the only way I can explain it. The Holy Spirit helps me write. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was a question for us, if you don't mind just jumping in and answering this. What is Broad Place Publishing working on now? Oh yeah. So we've got a busy new year planned. So the first book we'll be bringing out in the new year is Alex's book, Just Benny. So a lovely, gentle story. Some of you may have read it when Alex brought it out a couple of years ago, but we totally recommend that you get this new updated version, mainly because then when you buy the next one 6 months later, the covers will all match. And so that's really exciting. We're also working on one called Dave Says Don't Worry, which is a practical and prayerful guide to overcoming of worry in your life. Very biblically based book, not a story one, that one. Then
there's a story in it.
There's a couple of wee stories in it.
Yeah, there's quite a few stories in it.
The next one then is yours, isn't it, Natasha? Do you want to tell us about your book?
Yeah, so my the third in the Wanderer series, The Wanderer's Legacy, will be coming out in April. So that's very exciting. So if you like things that are about that thick, you like to dive deep into a story and really get to know the characters really well and journey with them for a long time, that's the kind of thing that I do. So and it's based on the story of Lamech in Genesis 4. Lamech and his 2 wives. 2 wives. Shocking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then after that, in May, we'll be bringing out my next book, which is Regency Romance. So I'll be bringing out 3 quite quickly. And the whole idea of the series is a vicar has 5 sons, and we follow this in each book. We follow a different son, and each son chooses a bride that's a little bit inappropriate for him. So it's a light-hearted Regency romance, but with solid biblical teaching all the way through, because I don't know any other way to live. And then in June, we're bringing out a memoir devotional. So the chance to travel through a lady's life with her, and just the chance for you to begin to look at some of the lessons she's learned with God and look at how you also can go adventuring with God. So we are really, really busy right now.
Really, and you're very pleased to have been done with me.
Very fast.
What we love, Joy, is how you have been a tremendous demonstration to all the writers coming after you of how well to do the social media. You've been so engaged with it. You have worked your absolute socks off. And that's the bit that everybody sees, but nobody sees how much you worked your socks off last February, March, writing the thing, and then over editing the thing. It feels like you need a bit of time off because you have worked so hard on it. So thank you for your faithfulness in bringing out this book, because it's going to lead many people to freedom, and that's why we do what we do, but that's why you do what you do, and that's so exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Are there any other questions? Because we're almost kind of getting to the end of time, really. We've had a lovely time. Is there any other questions or comments from people that burning issues things they want to ask me?
Liz just mentioned a couple of comments. One of them was that in the last launch in person, they had to wear the wimple themselves.
You did. They passed it round. Yeah.
Seems to be quite a scarring experience. And she did just say thank you. That's so encouraging, which I think was to your last question about how you write the stories. So no other comments have popped up or seem to be popping up.
Oh, okay. I've got a little thing in the corner of my head that says there's been 99 comments, and that's astounding. So thank you guys for interacting. This is the first time I've done a live stream like this. Whenever I've done an online launch before, I've done it on Zoom so I could see people. So this has been a little bit unnerving, just talking to myself on a screen and with these 2 lovely ladies. So I'm just really grateful for you all just becoming interactive and you know, taking part. It's been made it very, very special for me. So thank you. So yeah, I think we're kind of, I just need to say, have you got a copy? I think perhaps almost everybody that's on here has got a copy. But if you haven't, or if you would like another one, it is now available on my website. It's still available at Broad Place as well, but it's available now on my website from today because I could only put it up on my official publication day. So it's up there now. And for the next week, it being Black Friday today, not that I engage with that at all, but for the next week, it is on a special offer price. So it's got an RRP of $12.99. Our pre-orders were $11.99. For this week only on my website, it is £11.15. Now that sounds like a very odd number. It's so that you can get this posted to you for £14 all in with postage. So that's the way I've done it. So it's £11.15. And if you can see it anywhere else online, it's going to be on the RRP at the moment. Yeah. £11.15. If you want a second copy, go over to my website and get one.
Please buy a second copy from Joy's website for Christmas presents for people.
Yes.
Especially that person that you're thinking, I don't know what to buy anything for. They're in a bit of a blue spot. Or, you know, they're in a great spot, but it might not be good forever. Buy them that too. I think we've pretty much covered everybody with that. We've randomly drawn the prize winners. I know. So if you want to show us the first prize, I will tell you who's won it.
Okay, so the first prize winner will get the hardback copy of Stranger for themselves or to give away.
Well, that will be our Lizzie.
Oh, Lizzie, that's easy. I'll see Lizzie. I don't know how to put it in the post. Lizzie,
what is the next prize?
So the next prize is the calendar of landscapes from Wales. Yeah.
Well, the person who was randomly generated from that is Amber.
Oh, Amber!
Amber, you will be
I'll
getting
stick this in the
postcard of holiday destinations.
Yeah, it is really beautiful. That we have these almost every year in our house. In fact, I think we've had one every year, and I don't like throwing them away because they are by a local photographer, and the views are just stunning. Anyway, yes, that's that one. So that's going to Amber. I have to remember this. That's going to Amber. Yes,
I'll jot it down for you.
thank you. and
the sheeps are going to our very own Joanna Watson.
Oh, Joe, I'll stick them in the post to you.
And I think she said on the chat earlier, I love the sheep. So that was brilliant.
Perfect. Oh, that's so great.
Excellent.
Thank
Lizzie says
you.
thank you, and so does Amber. Well, Lizzie said
thank
hooray, actually.
so much. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. So if there's nothing else that people want to say, I just want to say again a really, really big thank you for just coming and making this evening special. Yeah, it's out, it's done. We've done it, girls. The book's out. Yeah, let's give ourselves a round of applause. And we really hoping and praying that it gets into the hands of the people that need to read it. That's always our hope and our prayer. So yeah, if you've got a copy and you love it, write a review, shout about it. And also, I really would love some pictures from my social media posting. So if you've got a copy, here's a challenge for you. Take a picture of yourself reading it, or if just of the book in an unusual location.
Could we throw down the gauntlet to you, Madame? Would you sometime over the weekend be able to post a picture of you wearing the wimple, reading the books and wearing cricket? Just to remind us that we should be doing that.
If I do that, then I'm expecting lots of people to send me photographs of them reading the book in unusual places.
It's a good deal. It's a good deal.
Okay. Oh, thanks, guys. Thank you so much. So I'm going to bring this to an end and just, thank you, Joy. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you for being with me.
Do you mind if we just pray very quickly?
I would love that so much.
Wonderful. I'd love that too. Father, I just want to thank you for Joy and for this gift of this book that you've given her, that she's faithfully brought out into the world. Father, we want to ask for every person who reads it that they will have a fresh revelation of you and of your love for them. And Father, we just pray for Joy that at the end of this launch time, you'll grant her rest. You'll grant her time to just relax with or without her wimple and have time in your presence, just enjoying fellowship with you. We just pray for everyone on this call and ask for you to bless each one of them, to be with each one of them. And Father, for everyone who's going to read a copy of this book, we just ask for you to be with them and to bless them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. And good night. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye.